Welcome to this week's astrology. So, this is the week of the 13th to the 19th of July. And this is really going to be a deep dive into the smaller astrological shifts that we're going to experience this week. Remembering that we're currently at a macro astrological level, really dealing with the energy of Jupiter in Gemini, which is all about freedom of information, speaking up, citizen journalism, new media uh, companies, kind of breaking the mold on mainstream media. And that's sitting square or in challenge to Saturn and Neptune in Pisces. And what my experience is, wherever Neptune goes and whenever it meets with a big planet, it almost bursts the bubble on that planetary energy. And so Saturn represents government, it represents patriarchy, it represents systems and hierarchies and big institutional bodies. And so while Neptune is sitting with Saturn, we are in the process this year, and it will really hit a peak next year, but the energy will shift quite dramatically. But while we have Jupiter square Saturn and Neptune, there's a lot of collective pressure. There's a lot of stuff coming up. And internally, it's really the opportunity to see where you are controlling, where you are towing a line, particularly an ancestral line or an ancestral belief that actually doesn't serve you or serve the generations that are going to come from you, whether they're directly related to you or not, whether they're your children or they're your siblings' children. Um, so there's this big question as to what are the internal systems that we need to change? What's the internal thinking we need to change? Where do we even need to, at an individual level, rethink where we get status? Where we're kind of like, I really feel like it's reaching this fever pitch in the collective energy of a lot of people realizing that like billionaires shouldn't exist. And actually, true status in life is happiness and peace, not in chasing an accumulation at the expense of a population or of other people. It's really a question of what is dharmic versus what is not. Now, that all said, let's jump into the astrology for this week. It feels like a big energy this week. We're coming off a full moon. So we've just had Guru Purnima on Thursday, Friday last week, which was a Sagittarius full moon, bringing up things that could not be suppressed or repressed anymore at a collective level, but individually. That kind of been a full moon where it was like stepping into talent, stepping into a creative impulse, stepping into more of your true nature that you really can't hide any longer, that you kind of can't hold back when you're in conversation with others or with your family or with your friends. So now we are in a waning week. The moon is waning, which means that the mind can have a desire to be a little bit more introverted. And so the energy of this week of kind of this calling home or desire to come home can mean that it's a week where you spend some time in your home, where you move homes, where you redecorate a space, where you clear the energy out of a space, where at the highest level you're really coming home to the self. Um, and a lot of that has to do with the sun's movement into Cancer, which will happen on Wednesday in sidereal astrology. So it currently sits in Gemini until Wednesday. Now, as the moon is waning as well, we are in Kali energy. It's the dark half of the fortnight, the dark fortnight. And so this is an energy that Kali rules, and Kali is the destroyer. She seeks purification, she seeks truth. And so there can be this really strong sense that traveling inwards, that finding home with inwards, but also finding truth, finding what is real, spending more time by yourself to really sense that. Now, today, it's the perfect energy for that. This morning, the moon is going to be in Capricorn, in a part of Capricorn called Shravana. I love Shravana. And so this makes the first half of today really one of listening. It's actually the perfect time to get quiet, to even consider just reading, like reading a spiritual text or reading and listening to the world around you, listening to nature, really hearing what you need to tell yourself. And silence can be something that the ego naturally isn't such a fan of. Like it would rather have distraction, and the input to create stories about your identity. But the first half of today, it's really encouraging you, like, hey, maybe spend a bit longer in bed. Maybe take yourself somewhere where you can just be by yourself to really listen. Because as the moon moves out of Shravana halfway through Sunday, it will move into Dhanishta, where it will be until early Monday morning. This can be the second half of this day, can be a day to socialize. So where in the morning there's been a sense of going within, kind of really listening, the energy then shifts in the afternoon on Sunday, and it's really one of socializing, of being with friends, and also allowing yourself to receive recognition from the people you hang around. Maybe someone wants to give you a compliment, really noticing how you receive that compliment. If you allow it to land within you, like, yeah, that is true. And like, thank you for your perception of how you see me. Now, Danishta is all about marching to the beat of your own drum. And so, although it's a very social energy, it's also about being authentically true to yourself. It's associated with music as well. So, you might find that music somehow plays into what you're doing on Sunday afternoon. But also this idea of like Sunday evening through to Monday morning, just really following your own rhythm, not being dictated by how the world wants you to be. It's a very Aquarius energy. So, really just listening to that. Sunday's also a perfect time to act selflessly, to give to the people around you from that place of like listening to what is true for you. Just really be careful while the moon is in this place that you don't detach from what you're feeling. Really let yourself feel, and let yourself do it in your own way. It might mean putting on some music and like dancing to that feeling, or singing to that feeling, or if you play music, it's a beautiful time to practice. Now, the sun on Sunday today is actually in harmony with the North Node, which is really beautiful. And Saturn is going to station retrograde today until the 28th of November, at the end of this year, and it will be in Pisces. Now, the Sun trine Neptune is this encouragement to not necessarily follow what everyone else is doing. And it can also give us this week a beautiful glimpse into the ways, like the stories and the ignorance of the mind that naturally plays out, like the thoughts we have about our identity that actually keep us bound to what the collective is doing, even when it doesn't serve. So, the moon being in Dhanishta in the afternoon is a really beautiful, supportive energy to that. So, listen to what comes through for you on Sunday afternoon, how maybe you want to move a little bit differently to the collective, how you want to do things a little bit differently to what you feel everyone else is expecting of you. Saturn stationing retrograde is like it will be big because Saturn is sitting with Neptune, like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, square Jupiter. Now, Saturn, when it goes retrograde, what it does is it forces us at a collective level, but personal level, to rewind. It's like, what did we miss? What you will find in the collective, there's news that comes back up, like news that about government or actions the government have taken that they either renege on, so they go back on, or there's things that were brewing earlier this year that then they come back out to play again. While it's in retrograde, it's the opportunity for us to really learn, like, what did we miss the first time around, what that Saturn was going over these degrees. So thinking through from the beginning of the year to now, what is it, and internally, where is it that I've been really seeking control? Where have I been controlling people in my life? And now the universe between now and November is going to give me the school to be in, to really learn about that, to really see and be aware of it. And that's all we can do. Um, I'll also mention today we have a really nice meeting of the asteroid Magdalena with Sirius. So, although not directly aligned because they sit on slightly different ecliptics, this is also a day for miracles. Just keep your eyes peeled. Like, what miraculous energy is reborn in and around you? Maybe something you thought that wasn't going to happen actually miraculously comes back around and does. Now, on Monday, the moon is going to be in Shatabishak. It's in Aquarius. So we know what Aquarian energy is like. It's really rebellious. So you can find that the mind is quite contrary. It really doesn't want to be told what to do. And Shatabishak is actually all about healing. So I would be saying, like, this can be a day where if you've been sick, or if you kind of feel like your immune system and physical body or even mental well-being needs a little bit of help. Yes, it's Monday, but it's really a day to think about how you might be able to care for yourself. What modalities or different practices you might want to incorporate just while there's a seasonal change going on to really support the vitality of the body. And it feels like, because Shatabishak is associated with natural medicines and with plants in particular, you might find that there's some incorporation of that type of modality. Now, if you have felt as if your immune system is really crashing or you're just kind of burning out, particularly on like today and even yesterday, really rest now, because as Monday comes around, if there's something a little bit uncertain in the immune system or you're feeling a little bit shaky, um, it can see that actually manifesting as a day where you need to rest. So really for all of us, I would be saying, like, even though Monday, it's the first day of the work week, in this military industrial complex, and maybe think about doing Monday a little bit differently to how you do. And maybe that means going to work a little bit later and staying later. Maybe it means actually having a really decent lunch break. Maybe it means just not putting your foot to the accelerator and breathing and doing things within your workday that are really nourishing for the body. Now the energy of this day can be very wet because Shatabishak is really associated with, well, it's Varuna is the god of Shatabishak. So there can be like a wetness in the atmosphere. So you might find that it rains or there is an excessive amount of the water element, which is often can be associated with, colds, sicknesses, that type of thing. So also just being careful of that. Also, watching out on Monday for the way that you judge yourself, because one of the things that can come up really strongly when the moon is in this particular part of Aquarius is we get to see our darkness and our lightness. And it can be really easy to judge our shadow or our darkness as some kind of weakness, as something we've really got to hide from other people. So just be careful of how you judge yourself. And I'm just saying, like, it's a day to really go easy as you sit here now on Sunday, maybe think about how you might plan Monday in a really different way to the way you normally do things. A way that's going to be really nourishing. Maybe cutting back on things that will stress your adrenals or stress the body or just bring up a natural stress in the mind. Now, on Tuesday, the moon is still in Aquarius. It's in a lunar mansion called Purva Bhadra. Now, when it's in Purva Bhadra, it's quite a nice day. Like after Monday, which has been very much about care and looking after yourself and maybe just doing your day a little bit differently, Tuesday comes in and it's going to allow you to see things a little bit clearer, to get the bigger picture, but be very careful of intuitive judgments today. So it will give you a bigger idea of what's going on. It can also help push you beyond the desires and the needs of the ego to actually see things from other people's point of view. There can be a desire today also to embrace greater spirituality or a greater sense of centeredness that you might have started to feel on Sunday, as well as incredible creativity. So if you're looking at getting something done this week or you're seeking inspiration, maybe you felt a little bit unmotivated, Tuesday's a really nice day to channel that creative energy. And if you have been sick over the last couple of weeks, you can find, or even if, well, sick, but also like if you've just kind of been feeling like you've been lacking motivation or been really unsure of where to go, what to do, the moon in this placement can actually give you a surge of energy just for the day to help you move in a new direction, to help you really open to the greater vision or inspiration that's coming through. Now, Tuesday, Wednesday are incredibly mystical energies. They're sitting in a part of kind of like moving from the moon is moving from Aquarius to Pisces, and the energy is naturally mystical in that part of the zodiac. So if you find that you're looking to go a bit deeper in your sadhana or a spiritual practice, it's a beautiful day to do that. On Wednesday, the sun enters Cancer. It'll be there till the 15th of August. So 16th of July to 15th of August in sidereal astrology. Now, Cancer is all about the Divine Mother. It is about returning home. It is about belonging. And so these can become really big themes in this coming month. So, regardless of the fluctuations of the moon that I'm talking about, underpinning that, what the soul is almost asking for, or what the evolving soul is asking for in this month is, where do I feel at home? Where do I truly belong? And physically, like I said at the beginning of the video, it can be a time of really thinking about how you live, changing things in your living situation, maybe preparing for a future move or moving during this week. But deeper down, this is always a reflection of something that's going on within us. And very often, this is about, well, not very often, it really is about belonging to ourselves, knowing that no matter where we call home, that we always belong right here. And we can find in the collective during this period of time that there's a big focus on home, like who owns what land belongs to who is Indigenous, who is non Indigenous, people claiming the homelands of others. This can be really, really big during this period because it's teaching us about belonging and about the fact that we all belong to each other. We are all at home together as one. Now, as the sun moves into Cancer, the moon's actually going to be in harmony with it, which makes a really nice entry into Cancer season. And the moon will be in Uttara Bhadra, which is Pisces. So I would be saying, like, Uttara Bhadra is all about rain. It can be a rainy day inside the body, but in a really nice way because rain is about spirituality, it's about connection to something deeper. And externally, you might find that it rains, kind of as a sign of that. There can be a deep desire in the mind to connect to something bigger than itself. And really, that can be about connecting to humanity. Now, like I said, the rain that Uttara Bhadra brings is not necessarily internally about sadness. It's actually about abundance. Like when it rains and it pours, it's that idea that, like, there's abundance, there's creativity, there's something bigger than ourselves. Like when we're in the weather, when we're in nature and in a vast landscape, we can feel how small we really are. You can find, like I said before, this is a day where you really want to connect with the mystical and the spiritual, and it's a really great day for creating foundations in life. So if you do happen to find yourself moving jobs, moving home, starting a new relationship, partnership, signing a contract, it's a really good day to sign a contract before Mercury stations retrograde on Friday. Um, but it's a really great day for setting in place something you want to grow, something you want to, yeah, a foundation that you want to build from. On Thursday, Isis, the goddess asteroid, will be conjunct Venus in Taurus. And this is like double Venus energy. It's very much about what you're resurrecting in the material realm, what you're resurrecting around finances. It might be as simple as finding money that you thought you'd lost. Getting a letter in the mail saying that, like, there's something that you're owed by someone. It can be finding a possession that you might have lost within your home or you might have lent to someone and totally forgotten about. And deeper than that, this is really a time that we will feel before Thursday and will extend through to the following weekend of inner completion, of really finding that sense of like a bringing back of parts of yourself into wholeness. The moon is going to be in Ravati, which is the final nakshatra, the final lunar mansion, and this sits in Pisces. It's also one of my favorites. Ravati can make time seem really weird on Thursday. So just don't be surprised if, you look at your clock and you think an hour's passed and only 5 minutes have, or vice versa. Like it's like the universe plays with time when the moon is in Ravati, and it's not necessarily about things speeding up or slowing down. It's more just like time is reminding you that it actually doesn't exist, that it's just it's a thing that comes into being so long as we're in this physical realm. Now, this can be a day where you're really wrapping up energy, particularly because Mercury is going to station retrograde on Friday, the next day. But today is a really nice day for wrapping things up, for closing out what has no longer served you over the last month, because we're in the final, we're in the 27th nakshatra, the final nakshatra of the nakshatras. Um, and it's also really a time where you can find yourself feeling really idealistic. Um, really wanting to connect to what comes next. It's like you're letting go of something and you're waiting for that next thing to come in. Just be really careful because there's a lot of idealism in the mind this day, that just be careful where life doesn't meet your expectations, because it won't. So don't let that be the thing that dampens it. Keep a vision, but just also like surrender that vision to something bigger than you. And then on Friday, probably the biggest day this week, Mercury stations retrograde in Ashleesha Nakshatra, which is Cancer. It's the claw of the Cancer constellation, which I spoke about last week, but I'll talk about again in a second. And it will be retrograde until the 11th of August. Now, it will be in Ashleesha, which is quite a difficult energy in Cancer, until the 29th. So the 29th of July. So just know, I feel like Mercury retrograde is going to be the biggest from Friday through to the 29th. That's when it will be the most difficult lessons will come up. And Ashleisha is all about the poisons of the mind and the way in which we sometimes allow those poisons to infect our voice in what we say to other people, even when it's like really small things. Like we just kind of like have a little stab, or like kind of a little bit of judgment or a little bit of criticism creeps into the voice, and we end up hurting people. And we normally, the intention is to hurt them. And what you can find is that people where you have had conversations where you have hurt them, or they have hurt you, where there's kind of, even in the smallest, like most passive aggressive little ways, that comes back up to play to be cleaned up, particularly to the 29th of August. And something to think about is how you can use that poison not to hurt someone, but to heal yourself. Like if you think of a snake and a snake bite, the poison from a snake can be used to hurt someone or harm or maim someone, or that poison can be transmuted to become the anti-venom. So how can the poisons of the mind, maybe like the judgments or the revengeful feelings, or the way in which you might be really upset with someone and want to almost get revenge, how might you transmute that energy instead of playing that out again and again and again? How might you transmute it into something positive, into an anti-venom for yourself and for them? I will, if you want to know more about how Mercury retrograde is going to be showing up in your chart, you can sign up for the upcoming Cancer new moon and Mercury retrograde ritual and reading. I'm going to include a specific section just which will be like a personal reading just on Mercury retrograde, as well as on the new moon, which will be next week. What I would say is, with Mercury retrograde, during this period, it's really the universe giving you the opportunity to clean stuff up. Particularly, it's always around the voice. Um, and Mercury in Vedic astrology tends to rule the idea of like the end of a path, the end of a progression, the end of an evolution. So there's always an opportunity in Mercury retrograde to fix up some karmic stuff, so that it doesn't have to be repeated. But it can feel like when we're in Mercury retrograde that old stuff is being repeated again and again. Now, the moon on Friday, early in the morning, it's going to move into the first nakshatra, which is Ashwini. And so again, like if you still haven't been, if you've been feeling a bit sick or you've still not over whatever's been going on, Ashwini is the sign of the cosmic healers. It tends to bring relief very, very quickly to sickness and illness. So there can be something like things just shift in the body, things start to feel a bit better. And even the ability to heal quite quickly. Now, this is the start of a new monthly cycle on Friday. Really, for the mind, it can be a day where you can get things done really, really quickly. Surprisingly, even though it's Mercury retrograde, there's an ability to think quite quickly, to get things done very quickly, to make things happen, and to move beyond any sluggishness or lethargy that you were feeling maybe on Thursday or Wednesday. Um, it's a place of energy, of miracles, and of the energy, like that pranic flow returning to the body, of the body really feeling like it's got a lot of life. So it's a beautiful day on Friday to exercise, to move. If you haven't been feeling good, it can be a day where just to slowly allow yourself to kind of like reopen and reintegrate with the world. On Saturday, we'll finish the week. The sun will square Chiron. Just be careful if you find that there are old stories or old thinking that comes up around abandonment, replaying events that have happened in your life where you felt abandoned, um, and or you felt alone or you felt unlovable or not enough. That can come up quite strongly on Saturday because of that movement with Sun and Chiron. Now, the moon is going to be in Bharani, and Bharani is the home of Shakti. It's very feminine energy on Saturday. So consider releasing the grips of control a little bit, of trying not to order what you think or how you think your day needs to be planned out, and allow for a bit of chaos because that's generally what Shakti likes. It's a day which can be incredibly creative, so you might find that you're called to create or express yourself or dance or like do something where it's not about being productive. It's actually about enjoying yourself through the act of creation. Even if that's like signing up to an art class, or it might be as simple as like going out and gardening. It's really about following what you're passionate about, what romantically calls to you, and seeing in that is just as divine as meditating. That is just as divine. It's a way to connect to the divine. So just know that. So that's this week. And kind of like the ups and downs and the shifts and turns of this week. Like I said, next week we're going to have the Cancer new moon. It will be on Wednesday, Thursday. I think for most of us it's going to be on Thursday, the 24th. And it's going to be in Pusha, which is very auspicious. And as a part of that ritual and reading, I will be including a Mercury retrograde personal written reading and video on the astrology to really help support you through how to navigate the key dates coming up for Mercury retrograde based on your chart, based on what will be showing up for you. That should be live around Monday, Tuesday. So if you sign up to my newsletter, you'll have details, or if you follow me on Instagram, it will be very easy to find. I hope you have a wonderful week.